Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 242. My name's Adam Patterson. Joining me today, we've got Kevin Rakestraw. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well.
You plowing through this world we live in, getting through it?
Sure.
This week on the show, we'll be looking at Raoul Peck's I'm Not Your Negro alongside Tim Sutton's Dark Knight. Gonna get political this week.
Oh boy.
Gonna get political this week.
Just what the people want.
Strap in. Remember, you can join in on the conversation by sending us an email at podcast@filmpulse.net or by sending us a tweet to @filmpulsenet. And if you like what you hear, consider helping us out by becoming a subscriber to our Patreon for just $1 a month. Patreon.com/filmpulse is the address, and it is a wonderful service, and you'll be helping us out greatly with just $1 a month. It's $12 a year, folks. $12 a year.
Whoa.
Yep.
Wow.
I think we should just dive right into our first review this week.
Let's get it. Let's get to it.
I think we should start with I'm Not Your Negro.
All right.
This opened this week in, I believe, select cities. I don't think this is wide, but I can't be certain of that. It's directed by Raoul Peck. I never know these days. I never know what's wide release and what's not.
Yeah. It's difficult to stay up on.
Yeah. I have a synopsis here. Writer James Baldwin tells the story of race in modern America with his unfinished novel, Remember This House. I think, I guess I'll start this one off. I saw this a little while ago, and it ended up being certainly one of my favorite documentaries of the year. So I was a big fan of this one. It's sort of just like an essay of sorts. It's sort of a reimagining of James Baldwin's unfinished manuscript, in which he sort of talks about race in America, and he sort of also honors the three men that he was very close with, being Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers. The way that it's presented, I think, it really worked for me. It's so weird how I'm sure that they were working on this film long before the election and everything that's been happening recently, but it just feels so relevant to what's going on now. And I think that that's what I really appreciated about the film is the fact that he spliced in things that happened in the past with things that are happening in the present, and sort of took a look at what could be happening in the future. And
he kind of draws those parallels, which it was exceptional. And it was, I don't know if this happened to you. There's numerous times where I'm thinking, is he talking about now?
Right.
Like, the narration itself, it talks to what's happening in the present just as much as, back when he wrote this.
Right.
That it does confuse you a little bit where it's like, is he talking about the present?
Yeah.
But that can't be right.
And that's the crazy thing. Like, James Baldwin passed away 30 years ago, and the stuff that he's saying in this book, it feels so contemporary. Like, it feels like this is like he's writing this now, and it's just kind of it kind of makes you think about like the cyclical nature of issues, social issues that can occur, and how a lot of these old wounds are being reopened today, as far as how we deal with race in America. And while I definitely believe that we're in a better place now than we were 30 years ago, or back in the 60s, there's still an issue. A lot of people think that we live in a post-racial society, which I think is horribly, horribly incorrect.
Oh yeah.
And I think that more than anything, in the recent events that have been occurring since January, we've been seeing evidence of that.
Oh yeah, but it's always been there.
Of course.
Even before the election.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I just think that with our current president, it's now for some reason these people think that it's okay to like come out of the closet.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
they
that
think that it's okay to just to surface, whereas before they were like, closeted racists and they were keeping
yeah,
it a secret, but now they're like, oh well, it's okay, I can do this now.
that has been uh, an unfortunate, cause because I've seen it. The people that I work with and stuff. It's just all of a sudden this like there's a comfort to them that they're just like, oh, wow, I can be racist now, and you're just like, whoa, whoa, I didn't know that. Okay.
you know,
You know what I mean? They'll just say small phrases and you're just like, "Oh shit, you're racist." Wow.
in a way, I'm kind of okay with it happening because now I can determine who I no longer want to talk to.
Yeah.
Like the people that I no longer consider friends or acquaintances that I just want to write off
Yeah.
because I just can't, I can't stand for that nonsense. But
But
getting
it
back
is
getting back to the film itself, it's narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, who he does a phenomenal job with the
it
narration
doesn't
in
I
this.
I didn't know it was him.
Yeah, I mean, he completely nails it. The way that he shifts the tone of his voice and just the way he presents everything in this film is just amazing. He knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, I was quite surprised to learn that that was him. So I was about halfway through it. I'm like, who's doing the narration for this?
Yeah.
Just looking on IMDb, and I'm like, I don't know if that's right. I think someone wrote the wrong name in there.
Yeah, he does a pretty amazing job. It doesn't sound like your typical Sam Jackson. He definitely switches it up for this one.
Yeah, there's kind of like a somber tone
Hmm.
to his narration.
I thought all the archival footage, like the Dick Cavett interviews and things like that, were all incredibly fascinating. Um,
Yeah, that I mean, it's so educational in so many different ways. I mean, it truly like watching the Dick Cavett show, just that archival footage, and you're just like, that's how talk shows used to be.
yeah,
And then you see the state of talk shows now.
yeah. In fact, I think I said exactly that while I was watching this. I was like, wow, the talk shows used to be like hard hitting. Like they used to get down to some serious issues. And there's some shows, like you have Real Time that with Bill Maher. Some
Yeah, but
shows,
even then, there's still this like I don't even with like Bill Maher and stuff. There's that undercurrent of where they're still entertaining.
right? Yeah.
Still like we got to find the funny side of this. We got to joke about it a little bit.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think shows like Real Time and Last Week Tonight, the John Oliver show, I think are fantastic. I think that they deliver these kind of news bits and issues in a very palatable and entertaining way. And I think that that's how people need to consume news these days. They need it in a form of entertainment. They
Yeah,
just can't handle straight news anymore. I think people just
I
I don't
it's
know.
it's just one because immediately all I could think of while you're watching the Dick Cavett clips, like all I can think of is Jimmy Fallon tussling
I know.
the hair job.
I
Like
know, right?
that's all I can think of. And I'm just like, there's such a gulf between these two things. What happened?
Well, that was a huge mistake on all levels. I'm sure that he regrets doing that, but
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
shouldn't have happened in the
I.
first place.
It reminded me of something because I've been wanting to read James Baldwin for years, and for whatever reason, I've never gotten to it. And it was just then I just felt shame watching this. I'm just like, why have I not read James Baldwin yet?
Well, I think that this is a good entry to because I've never read his stuff either because I don't read, but I admit it. I don't have time for it, unfortunately. But I think that this is a good entry point into his ideas and his life as well. I think that this is one of these movies that a lot of people need to see, but I'm afraid that not enough people will see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I agree with you that it is a good entry point, and it immediately, at least for me, my response to it is two things. It was number one, I gotta read Baldwin. I gotta just do that and stop putting it off. And two, I just like immediately wanted to watch like every clip of him.
I know. He's such a fascinating, like his ideas are so in tune with how I feel about a lot of those things.
It's just
It's
he has an incredible presence to him
right. I mean,
when he's speaking.
he's so incredibly articulate and his ideas are just so on point. He just seems so in tune with what's happening in America and he has such a firm grasp of it. I thought it was just basically anytime they would show clips of him speaking, I would just hang on every word that he was
Well,
saying.
yeah, and that was the thing that I noticed too, because it had the same effect on me. But you also kind of notice in those clips the people around him. You know, whether it's the Dick Cavett show or when it was, you know, the that debate at Cambridge and stuff. You know, you would see the people around him like immediately when he would start talking, like everyone was just hooked,
Yeah.
and he just like it just this like this atmosphere came over the entire room where it's just like someone really important is speaking.
Yeah, I mean that the Cambridge thing, those clips were incredible. Just everything that he was saying was just so incredible, and you could just tell that he was just radiating to the audience,
It's
which
just
was
yeah, like he gets in his zone.
and their reaction afterwards was just like holy crap! Like he either changed the minds or perspectives of everyone in that room, or they already felt that way, and just he reaffirmed them and made them stronger in their beliefs. And it was just really interesting to see. And I don't think it was the Dick Cavett clip. I think it was there was another one where he was on with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh yeah, when it was like
It was like a debate of sorts where they were kind of each of them brought their own ideas and kind of had I don't know if was it a debate? I don't even know
no,
if it was.
I think it was like three separate because they and this was um the editing in this movie is quite good, and this is one of the examples of it when they had, you know, there was the interview with Malcolm X, and he's essentially just critiquing um, Martin Luther King Jr. and his movement and what he's trying to do, and then you know they would splice to Martin Luther King Jr.'s response, and then would cut back to, you know, Malcolm X with more of a critique, and then back to his response, and then they would splice in the footage of, I guess, Baldwin's interview.
That's really interesting because I thought that was an actual like they were all there.
It might. I know. I'm not sure. I got the sense that it was three separate.
Either way, that was really fascinating to watch, just to see all their different views, and it's like James Baldwin seems to be the one that kind of is in the middle between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. and just how he takes their ideas and conveys them to people. It's just really he was just a really fascinating, interesting man, and I love his. I think it's at the beginning when he talks about because he was living in France for many years and how he came back to America and how he was saying how he never missed America when he was in France, but when he came back, he just suddenly felt like he was at home. And I just thought that whole kind of monologue that he does is just was really, really interesting.
Yeah, and just the kind of how they framed it at the beginning there, where he was kind of discussing why he had to come back and what compelled him to come back to America. I thought that they just did a fantastic job of kind of mixing his personal feelings with, you know, his friendships with people and just America at that time, and then, you know, the more public persona, and kind of weaving the two together.
Now, what did you think? Did you think that it was correct of Peck to intercut, Baldwin's thoughts and ideas from this unfinished manuscript into footage and things that are happening today, like what's happening today? Did you think that was appropriate or a good thing for him to do something like that?
Yeah, I think it is good to make that connection for a lot of people to kind of see, you know, kind of like I said earlier, where I'm not, you know, I was kind of confused at times because I'm thinking, did he just write this?
Yeah.
But no, that can't be true. He died in 87. There's no way.
The other
But
thing that
it just goes to show that there's been some significant changes, but at the same time, a lot of stuff has stayed the same.
and I'm fearful that things are taking several steps back. I feel like we're going backwards
Oh yeah.
in recent times. And again, that not just since Trump was elected either. I feel like it's been happening more and more recently that we're backtracking. But the other thing that's about this movie is that it doesn't propose any solutions. It's not here to tell us what we need to do. It's showing us what is happening, so hopefully people in power can take steps, and the people, society in general, can take steps in preventing, something like a race war or something like that from happening. And I like that. I don't necessarily want the film to. I don't think it's the film's place to propose any kind of solutions, because at the core of it, that's not really what this movie's about. It's about James Baldwin's life and ideas. And I was afraid that they were going to do something like that, where they're, towards the end, where they're going to tell us how we fix it.
Yeah. Between this and 13th, got some really educational docs
Absolutely.
that are like must sees.
I actually liked this one a bit more than 13th. This one just, again, I was so enthralled by everything that was happening, and even how he intercuts the old film footage, like the short films that he would put in from like the 40s.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. That was an interesting side to it that I wasn't really expecting. There's a lot of clips from films
Mm-hmm.
that Baldwin discusses.
Yeah, and I thought that was lots of like revisionist history films, a lot of cowboy and Indian type stuff.
Yeah, he talks a lot about John Wayne,
Yeah, he seemed to be a little bit of a film buff.
and that the my favorite part was his when they brought out it was the Dick Cavett show when they brought out, I think he was like a philosophy professor, and they brought that guy out, and he's like, you were watching the show in the back, and do you agree with stuff? Do you
Oh
disagree
yeah,
with stuff? And he's like, oh, I disagree with a lot. I agree with some, but I disagree with a lot. And the Baldwin's reaction and just completely, tore him down.
eviscerating him.
Yeah, it was just like, holy shit. I mean, he has such a command of speech that was just incredible to watch. Just to to just come out with that reaction just off the top of your head like that. It's just like, how are you doing this?
Yep, I think we need more people like him now. I think that there are some people out there like Cornell West. I think is an incredible speaker. And more recently, I've been following Van Jones.
Oh yeah, yeah.
His stuff is really really great too. But I think we need more people like that can speak out and have an articulate voice.
Well, and I think that the issue too is I think a lot of those people are out there. I just think that at least for me, I don't know. I know a couple, like you said, Van Jones, but it's more on me to actually like go out and seek them because they're out there.
Very true.
I'm just sitting at home doing nothing. Just like, "Man,
Doing nothing with your life.
I wish there were some people out there like James Baldwin, and they're out there, and they're like, yeah, we're fucking right here.
Why aren't you listening to us? God damn it.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Oh, it's definitely true. It's 100% true.
So this was nominated for. Was this nominated for best documentary? Yes, it was. Yeah, best documentary feature this year at the Academy Awards. I would say very deserving of it. Overall, I thought that this was a pretty incredible documentary. And again, it's one of these movies where it's not like there was a ton of material to work from. It was an unfinished manuscript, and the director
it was only like 30 pages, right?
Yeah, so there was a lot of filling in the blanks, so to speak, and I think that he did a pretty fantastic job of fleshing it out. And I loved the inclusion of all of the archival footage and the clips and everything. A lot of black and white photography and the splicing in of things that are happening in modern times. Like there's a lot of footage from Ferguson and things like that. And I thought that it was just really, really well put together. Typically with documentaries like this, I find them educational and I find them entertaining, if you could call it that. But as documentaries go, a lot of times I don't feel like they bring a lot new to the table, like from a technical standpoint. And I thought that this one was just so well put together. Like you said, the editing is pretty incredible. And I thought that it was very well made. So I'm Not Your Negro. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10.
Give it 8.5.
Very nice.
I'll go with the 8.5.
Great film. I hope this is one that they quickly turn around to VOD, because people aren't going to go to the theater and see this. And where it's playing now, it's playing in, I think Alamo Drafthouse is screening it, because I read on Twitter several times that all of the screenings at the Alamo Drafthouse were sold out and they had to actually add more screenings so people could see it. So it's a lot of people are being very receptive to this, which is great, but I think that it needs to get a wider release and reach a wider audience. I'm afraid that this is one of these movies we talk about all the time where it's just preaching to the choir, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
And I really want movies like this to hit a wider audience, especially people that may not be familiar with who James Baldwin is, or maybe have differing opinions or ideas, and maybe this can educate them and help them understand where we're at in society when it comes to race.
Yeah, but unfortunately, like you said, it'll probably just be more of a preaching to the choir.
And usually I don't mind that either, because I take as long as I take something away from it, as long as it educates me, I'm happy with that. But
well, you still gotta have it out there too. You can't just
right,
not put it out and be like, well,
this is only going to appeal to yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our next film of the day, Dark Knight. This is written and directed by Tim Sutton. I have a synopsis here. The lives of 6 strangers intersect at a suburban cineplex where a massacre occurs. Yeah, all right. So we go from talking about issues of race to issues of gun violence in Dark Knight. Kevin, we'll start it with you with this one. What did you think of Dark Knight?
Well, what did I think? This is atrocious. Just outright atrocious. And I mean, it's offensive on so many levels. I couldn't believe it, really. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I mean, this movie only works with going in knowing about Aurora, knowing about the shooting, because if you didn't have that knowledge, I don't think you would really come to that conclusion while watching this movie.
No, you wouldn't.
So I think it's kind of disgusting on that part that it's kind of like before you go, you're ushered in to watch the thing that they're, kind of like, oh, hey, by the way, just keep in mind Aurora, the shooting, the real life massacre of people, the real life tragedy. And guess what? I'm going to do art stuff with it.
I would put art stuff in quotes on that.
Yeah.
On that statement.
That's why I tagged on this stuff.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of was Elephant, that Gus Van Sant movie,
which I've never seen.
It's very similar, but the Van Sant one, even though I didn't like it, does it a lot better. The Elephant was sort of a loose interpretation of the Columbine shooting, whereas this is a loose interpretation of the Aurora shooting. And I love how they were very quick at the beginning of the movie to have them watching that news clip where they actually talked about the shooting, so you could be like, okay, to separate themselves. Law and Order SVU does that all the time, where they're like, let's be sure to let everyone know that this is not that. so they mention it to kind of, it's like a liability thing where they're like, this is not about the Aurora thing. It's in a different place and it's a different time. It takes place after it. We're gonna put that news clip in there so you all know that it's not the same thing. But
Yeah,
we
but it is.
but it is, of course, it is. I mean, this takes place in. They didn't say exactly where it takes place, but it's in Florida. I think it's in Tampa. It looks like Tampa, in that area. And the problem is, like the synopsis says, you spend time with these six people. Half the time, I could not tell any of them apart. Like it would jump from character to character, and I'm like, have we seen this person already? Is this the only one? The only one that I knew was the guy with the long hair who was the quote unquote shooter. That's the only one who, when they would cut back to, and the guy with the that
Why?
they
Why is he being interviewed?
the guy that they interviewed with the buzzed hair. But why? This is what I don't understand about this movie. Like they tried, so it's like it was like that they looked at the definition of neorealism and were like, okay, this is what we have to do. We have to follow these rules. This has to be the definition of neorealism. And it was like they followed all these weird steps. Like the interviews made no sense to me whatsoever. I was like, is this supposed to be like a documentary? But
But yeah, and it's only that portion of the
yeah,
film.
right. There's nothing else that follows that structure. So why is it in there? Why did they make that decision to do that?
Why is this kid being interviewed anyways? He's not interesting.
Right. And
And no offense, none of these people are
well, that's the
interesting.
thing. They bring nothing to the table. There's no development of these characters. It's just random clips of them living their lives, but because we have no context as to who these people are or anything about them, it's completely uninteresting and you have no connection to these people whatsoever. If they took the time, maybe if they kept it instead of six people, if they kept it to like three or four, and they actually spent the time on knowing, getting to know who these people were, then maybe the what happens at the end might have had more impact. And also what happens at the end is it's nothing. Like it doesn't make you feel like, oh my god, like it doesn't shock you. It doesn't.
Well, and that's the thing. Like it's the impact that you're talking about that it's lacking or that you want. It's there. It's in the original tragedy. It's in
Right.
they're just like that impact has been delivered, and it can be delivered again and again by just remembering Aurora or reading about Aurora. You don't need this film. There's no need for this to exist.
Right. If you want to see a movie that addresses gun violence in America, there's 1,000 of them. There's so many that you don't need another one that does the exact same thing. Of course, we show these kids playing video games. They're the disaffected youth. They're vaping and they're playing their first person shooters and they're dyeing their hair and they got piercings. So of course they're going to shoot up a movie theater. I mean, to me it was offensive when I see
Well, and
stuff like this.
there's just some very odd. Like number one is you're trying to have this like it felt, at least I had the feeling that he was trying to go for this like impending doom because you. But
Right.
again, that's only working because he whispered Aurora before the film started. So that's the only reason. Like, if I did not know about Aurora going in, I would not be thinking, oh, there's going to be a huge tragedy at the end of this film. I would just be thinking, oh, these people are doing nothing and they're going to continue doing nothing.
Yeah. Why am I sitting through this? Why am
Yeah,
I having to sit through this?
why am I watching them? So I don't really understand what are you trying to do with these people? I don't see this as anything except cashing in on the fact that they were killed. To me, it's nothing more than that.
I was thinking that the interview portions with I think that they're jumping in time. I think that the interview portions are after the tragedy in the film took place, and at least that's what I got out of it. That because there was that one scene where he's like walking down the street and he has that like I don't know what the hell it was, vision or flashback or whatever of people taking pictures
Yeah,
of him. So I
yeah.
think that the interview portion is supposedly after the the shooting took place. But I did read some things about people saying how, this was so full of tension and like the impending doom, as you said, and clearly that's what they were trying to go with. I will
But
agree
that's
with you on that.
it's
But
and it's only because you know of the real tragedy,
right, exactly.
and
You
that
know what it is.
all the marketing material behind this movie is, oh, it's based on Aurora. It's inspired by Aurora. That's the only reason you have that tension or that sense of dread. It's not in the actual film.
And I feel like it also, being a movie that's supposedly about the state of gun use in America and gun violence that occurs in America, I feel like it doesn't bring any new ideas to the table. It doesn't even explore the existing ideas in a new or interesting way. And I think that people that made
It,
I mean,
it,
it's not
it
delivering us anything that we don't already know. And
it's not
I,
delivering us anything.
and I think that, a lot of stuff is it needs to be explored more. If you're going to make a movie about gun violence, then you need to do it in a more complex and maybe more developed way, because there's nothing in this. Like, you show a kid going to a shooting range, you show a kid carrying a rifle down the street, and it's like, okay, maybe you should explore where he got that rifle. Maybe you should show him going to a gun show and getting that rifle, with no background check or permits or anything or whatever. However they do it. I don't know how gun
Yeah.
shows work. But
Well, and the other thing too is what are you saying? Because to me, I don't think anything was explored. I mean, this.
well, that's why I think that they showed him playing the first person shooter games, and I think that they definitely showed that stuff for a reason. I think that they were trying to show that these are
Yeah,
disaffected youth.
but I think it was more. I don't know if he was actually really, you know, like dissecting anything or investigating
No,
anything.
no,
It
absolutely
just seemed
not.
more like he was, you know, parroting like really surface level things. Like, oh yeah, I once heard on TV that someone blamed it on video
Yeah,
games.
exactly.
I'll
And,
put a
and
video game in. But overall, on a bigger picture here, like what is the message that you're sending? You have a person that you know the Aurora shooting, so now we get to have an arty movie. So to me, you're almost, in a sense, you're kind of glorifying it because the victims that you show, they show them doing nothing, just being normal people, just doing stuff. There's really nothing to it, and you're like your action or your, the thing that is set up to draw the viewers in is the killer himself.
right. And I think that this movie would have done it would have been more effective to create a connection between the viewer and the victims. Like, let us get to know these people. Let us get attached to these people. That way, when that final scene does occur, it will be more impactful. It'll be more emotional, because, well, these people that we've been spending the last hour and a half with are going to be killed, presumably, and that way it does pack a bigger wallop than what happens, which, maybe I'm one of these desensitized viewers that they sort of allude to in the movie, but I didn't feel anything. Like, I felt no emotion from this movie whatsoever. Like, I got nothing out of it. It didn't make me think about the state of guns in our country. It didn't. It did nothing.
Yeah, it's because there's nothing there. And then there's other elements to it that are just kind of odd choices.
Well,
Like the first thing that outside of the whole Aurora thing that kind of made me like cock my head a little bit, like what the fuck are we doing? Is he does that like super slow. He travels like length of the woman's body doing yoga or whatever, like super close up. Just let's just slowly go down her backside, and it's like, why is this in here?
yeah.
Why? And then like everything that involved her was just like filming her body. It's just like, why is this part of? your story? Why is this element there?
Maybe it's a reflection on the fact that she's got a YouTube channel and she's making money off of showing off her bod.
I guess I don't know.
Well, that's if
I
that's
have
what
no,
it is, that doesn't work.
I have no idea. All I know is I hated this. I just I wanted to fight the movie.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that irked me about this one as well. There were a lot of things that I think did not work. The fact that it's somehow less than an hour and a half long, like this is IMDb reports this at an hour and 25 minutes.
That's bull.
This
There's no way.
I felt like I
There's,
was watching this movie all day. It never ended. And I think that again, going back to the disconnect between the viewer and the characters, that's what it was because there was nothing like when you don't see any kind of plot progression when there is no plot to speak of and it just jumps it reminds me of Slacker, Linklater's Slacker, where when you watch that movie it just feels like it's never going to end, and it just
yeah.
when it just jumps from character to character to character doing nothing. But at least in Slacker they had conversations, at least there was something going on, whereas in this movie there's not even a lot of dialogue. There's just nothing going on.
Yeah.
It's just a movie of nothing that says nothing.
Yeah.
And it's got a cool poster, I'll give it that.
It's got some nice cinematography.
The cinematography's decent. I mean, typically these types of movies are in my wheelhouse. I like these movies that feel very authentic and documentary style. I like that. But when you're bringing nothing to the table and having characters that you can't connect with even on a very simple base level, it's not gonna do it.
What? One, just the audacity to have, like, why do you have to connect it to Aurora? I don't understand. I just don't understand that decision. You could have easily just made this a film and not have Aurora part of the equation.
Well, even if Aurora wasn't part of the equation, I still don't think I would have.
No, I mean, I
Maybe
still
this-
wouldn't have liked it, but I wouldn't have been like just outright offended while watching the entire thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just reminded of that fact like every minute that something happens in this 37-hour long film. It just it just sits there in my head and it pissed me off.
Yep.
Why?
I will completely agree with you on that. This was not a winner for me.
And like, stop. Whoever is funding these types of movies, stop. Just fucking stop.
Yeah, I heard good things about this too. This played the festivals for a while, and I'm glad that I didn't waste my time seeing it at any of the festivals that I've been to last year.
Oh yeah, if you got me in like a theater setting, I would have been asleep in 5 minutes.
Just this might have been a walkout for me. I might have had to leave it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would have as soon as I probably wouldn't have walked in because of the synopsis. I said just read it and been like, nope.
Yeah. All right. What are you gonna give Dark Knight?
I give it a 0.
Oh man. Wow.
Go fuck yourself.
That's intense.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna give this one a 1.5. Just a slog. I cannot recommend this one at all.
At all.
There were a number of things that offended me about this one, and I just nope.
It's just,
That's a big no for me. It's a big pass. Hard pass.
I don't understand how you have things like that. How can these things happen? Like, of all the people that are behind this, why is no one at one point just being like, you know what, we shouldn't do this. Let's not do this.
Yep.
And then everyone just packs up their stuff and they go home and they start other projects.
Let's just leave it.
We'll just table it and we won't come back to it and we'll just forget about it and we'll do other things.
Yep. All right, that's Dark Knight. That is playing in select cities. I think it might just be playing in New York right now. Let's move on. Talk about some of what we've been watching on the watch list. It's been a while. Took last week off. Kevin, we'll start with you.
I can't remember like what we talked about, what we didn't talk about last time. I watched. Here's one that I know we didn't discuss. That's The Dreamed Path. This is a film that has been playing numerous festivals, showed up on a lot of people's best of lists last year, a lot of number one spots it was populating. So I got pretty psyched. I got on board the hype train, as they would say. And it finally popped up on Festival Scope, and I was delighted. I was so happy. I finally get to watch this movie, and I get to be like everyone else and have it as one of my favorite films of the year. This is terrible. I'm so confused as to why so many people love this. It's just a Bresson knockoff, and it's not a particularly well-made one. It's just I unfortunately my movie watching has been just a lot of slogs. It seems like, and this is another one, only 86 minutes long, but it felt like 3 weeks of just watching nothing. It's just nothing. People, uninteresting people doing nothing. But to make it worse, it has that Bresson aesthetic on it, or the stylings, as you might say, where it's everyone is sulking.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is just infinitely sad, and they all just kind of look down. They're all timid. They all look like they've been abused, like they're abused dogs. And I just can't get behind this mode of filmmaking. I just don't understand the appeal at all. I don't get it. It may be the most baffling thing to me in cinema, is that people can watch that and then, just stand in ovation and be like, that was wonderful. I'm just like, did we see the same thing?
Right.
So, I mean, for me, I cannot recommend it. It was awful. Just terrible.
And that's The Dreamed Path. I saw The Ring versus The Grudge.
Was that better?
No.
Uh-huh.
This is what we were originally planning on reviewing last week, but then we decided to take the week off. So this premiered on Shudder. This was a Shudder exclusive, the streaming horror network. And I would say if you're into horror movies, it is an easy recommend to get that. It's amazing. The movies that they get, and it's like consistent updates to their library that are really great. Fantastic collection of horror movies. So Shudder is definitely worth getting. The fact that they're doing exclusive content as well is cool. And I was actually really excited to see this movie because big fan of The Ring, big fan of The Grudge. Mixing the two together, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm still interested. It doesn't work. It doesn't really work. It's basically a Ring movie, so that's where the focus is. And it's a very generic Ring movie. I heard that the new one that just came out this week here in America is the same. It's very just really generic and base level. And that's how this one is. It's, these two girls find the tape. They watch the tape. One girl is looking down at her phone while the tape plays, and so she doesn't get the curse, but the other girl does. And so that was kind of an interesting thing. And then another interesting thing is the one girl stupidly she rips the VHS tape to a DVD and then uploads it to the internet. So thousands of people get the curse. And I thought that was kind of cool.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but they don't do anything with it, and that's the problem, is that they didn't really do anything interesting with that idea. Basically, when they find out that they've been cursed, they have they're in college, and they have a professor who he specializes in these types of things, and he reaches out to this exorcist woman, who then reaches out to this other powerful magician sort of guy, and he and his little sidekick, who's like this 10-year-old blind girl, decide that the only way that you can lift the curse is to find another curse that is just as powerful and have the two curses fight over the victim. So they ended up finding Juon, the creature from The Grudge, and
so ridiculous.
And then getting her cursed by both of them, and then the two fight.
I love it. I love it.
It is.
So are they just kind of hoping that the two the two fight and kind of destroy each
Right.
other?
Yeah. His assumption is that the two will destroy each
That
other.
is such a
I
ridiculous.
know.
I just, I love that that's his idea. That's such a.
Needless to say, it doesn't work out.
I
And
wouldn't think because one of them would win. I would imagine.
well, what happens is a little different. And I will say that the end is it's a non-ending. Like it's one of these movies that clearly they're planning on making multiple ones, and it just ends mid-scene, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like it just what? That's it? That's the end? Like something like it was during an action scene, and it was like something was right about to happen, and it just cut to black, and it was like, okay, come on now, you got to give us something
Jerks.
more than that. You can end on a downer. You can end on it, something terrible happening, and that's fine, but just don't do it in the middle of a scene like that.
Yeah.
So overall, The Ring versus The Grudge, not really worth looking at. It's not scary. The Grudge, the creature from The Grudge is more scary because it does that weird mouth click noise thing.
Yeah.
So that's and the way that she's like all contorted and walking on her hands and feet and stuff, and
That's just the worst.
yeah, that's creepy. The ring stuff, actually, I didn't find that to be scary at all. Maybe it's because we're so far removed from the first ring
But
that
how do they? Because I'm really interested in this. Is how do they fight each other?
it's well because the whole thing with the ghost or spirit from the ring is her hair. Her
Mhm.
hair is real long. She can like move it like tendrils, so it like will shoot out and wrap around the creature from the grudge and like drag it and like try to take the hair and like put it in its mouth, and it's you don't really see a lot of the fighting actually. You don't see a whole lot of them actually duking it out. There's it doesn't happen until the very end of the movie, and it's
Yeah, but you just wonder why they would fight. You would think that they would just like race to, and it would just kind of be like a first come first
right.
serve.
Who
Whoever
can
gets
yeah who
who
can
gets
kill,
who gets it
and
first.
that's one of the main problems with the movie is that it obviously I think that it was difficult for them to try to mesh these two movies together, and the way that they did it just didn't work. Like it just wasn't that clever.
Yeah,
It was the most ridiculous idea. Like I laughed out loud when the guy was like, "This is what we're gonna do," because I was like,
and
"This
you
is the
said
most
he was,
ridiculous shit."
and you said that he was like he's a magician,
Yeah,
right?
he's like a sorcerer. He does these like weird hand movements, and he's really powerful. He can do all kinds of stuff, and he has this little blind girl that's like his sidekick, and she's sort of like a clairvoyant, I guess. She can read people's minds, she can see things,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
like she can see the spirit world and stuff. And those two characters were the best characters in the movie. Like they were
And
really interesting. He was
well, you would think that those two people combined would have some sort of power to win this instead of getting
oh, they got their asses
another,
kicked.
another curse to fight another curse. Like
Yeah.
why have these things if you can't utilize them? Like what point is why have them in a movie?
Well, they did some like incantations and things that sort of controlled the environment. Like
Hmm,
it's they were able to sort of direct things.
gotcha.
But yeah, they were the best two characters of the movie. They were funny and interesting characters, but everything else was just pretty much yeah, meh. But
Yeah.
it's available for free if you have Shutter, and you could sign up for like a trial or something and just watch it if you want to.
I tried to finish or I tried to watch American Honey. That hasn't happened.
Oh,
I can't make it.
I love me some American Honey.
Oh my god. That film. Oh boy. It's been taunting me for like I've had it for 2 weeks and I just can't
It's long.
can't
Uh,
finish it. I
It's
can't finish it. There's nothing to it at this point in time. I don't know if anything is going to happen.
probably not.
Okay.
Probably not enough for you to be satisfied.
Well, it's just like I was watching it for like an hour and some, and I'm like, the only thing that I can glean from this movie is like no one has a personality, it seems, outside of one guy shows his dick and then runs away. Like that's the main as much as a personality that I've gleaned from this film. is that there's that one guy that does that thing.
Well, there's more personality stuff later. But
See, that's one thing. Like, but it just up until the point that I'm at, I'm just like, why was all this time dedicated to this? We could have cut so much of this out.
yeah, that the length of that movie is probably the only
It's
the
such an
biggest
odd.
the biggest criticism I would give it is it didn't
It's,
have to be that long.
yeah, it's such a like a meandering like introduction.
It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes, isn't it? It's like really long.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's like, phew, can't do it. Can't do
I
it.
loved it
One
though.
thing, one thing I did finish was Tectonic Plate. This is also from last year. Um, this is an experimental film. It is what is called letterist style, letterism, which is essentially it's a non-film. So this is one of those experimental films where like reading about the actual production and creation of the film is far more interesting than the actual film itself. You know, the actual film viewing experience.
That's how I felt
It's
about
much more.
sorry, that's how I felt about Lucifer. I think it was called Lucifer.
Oh, is that what the aspect was?
Yeah.
Was it like a circle?
Yeah, they used this crazy cone thing and they reflected off the cone, and the whole movie was, yeah, in a circle.
Yeah. Well, this is it's essentially just text on a screen and some like Xeroxed images and stuff. And it's like 73 minutes long. So it's it kind of wears out its welcome after a while. And it's just kind of um this taking taking a plane trip from Tokyo to Helsinki is kind of like the story that we're going with here. And it's just kind of like the anxieties around that. And uh, I mean, it's all right. I mean, it's somewhat interesting, but like I said, it's one of those things where like the actual reading about it and like what letterism is and how she created the film or how the director created the film is far more interesting than what I actually saw on the screen.
Mm. Hmm.
But it's also another thing where I don't know if this letterism idea, because it's been, implemented in, it's an avant-garde movement. And it's been in various art forms. It's just I don't know if cinema, if it really pairs well, because it just kind of seems pointless.
Mm. Maybe it would be better suited for like short films.
Perhaps, perhaps.
All right, that's Tectonic Plate. I saw The Founder. It's directed by John Lee Hancock. Tells
Perfect
the
trans. Perfect. That's a whiplash transition.
yeah.
Tectonic plate to the founder.
So this tells the story of Ray Kroc. He's not the founder of McDonald's, but he's the one that basically made it what it is today.
Yeah.
Pretty standard biopic stuff here. Not a lot of real creative flourishes happening in this one. The score really bothered me for this one. Like I don't know why. Normally I don't notice the score of a film unless it's either really good or really bad, and for some reason this one just was not doing it for me. It felt so generic that it bothered me. Other than that, you're pretty standard biopic-y stuff. It's the same kind of peaks and valleys that you come to expect from a movie like this. That being said, it was still very entertaining, and it was interesting to see how McDonald's became the behemoth that it is today. And there were really solid performances as well. Michael Keaton as Ray Kroc was fantastic as usual. Laura Dern plays his wife; she was great. Nick Offerman as I think he was Dick McDonald, and then John Carroll Lynch as Mac McDonald. I always loved John Carroll Lynch. I feel like he's extremely underrated as a character actor. Patrick Wilson, B.J. Novak, they were great. Linda Cardellini was in it as well. She was great too. So really solid performances all around. I like the aesthetic. I like movies that take place in the 50s. I love that look, and I think that they pretty much nailed the look where everything is very bright and colorful and clean, and it just had that 50s vibe to it. And I liked that. Other than that, though, not much to say. It wasn't I would not call this Oscar material at all. I think it was enjoyable, but it was, a 5 or a 6. It was just pretty average in the end,
Yeah.
but still very entertaining, and it was funny too. There was a lot of humor in it. Like obviously Nick Offerman was was really funny, but it was more of a closer to a dramatic role for him. Interesting,
Hmm.
interesting little movie. The Founder.
The Founder.
Yeah, that's playing in theaters now.
All right. I didn't see anything else. I wasted so much time trying to finish American Honey.
All right, I got a couple more I can rattle off here. Saw Death Race 2050. This is this is the Roger Corman produced one. So it's like a proper sequel to Death Race 2000, not those terrible remakes that happened a few years
Yeah.
ago. I expected it to be worse than it was. It was certainly a B movie, and it was certainly trying to be a B movie, and that seemed evident. And a lot of times when movies are clearly attempting to be cheesy and bad, it doesn't work. And I think that this one doesn't really work. Some of it was actually pretty funny, but a lot of it felt like a lot of the goofs and gags didn't land for me. They felt very juvenile, and
Hmm.
the effects work is terrible. It's just CG blood everywhere, and just everything looked pretty bad. Some of the stuff looked cool, like when they were actually racing, when they showed shots of the cars racing, it reminded me of the original, which I definitely appreciated. The look of the cars and the costumes, they were all straight out of the original, which I definitely liked that. But it takes place in this future where the United States is called like the United Corporations of America or something like that, and it's like they replace the stars on the flag with money signs, and Malcolm McDowell plays the sort of president, but he's got this like crazy comb over, like clearly a riff on Donald Trump.
Hmm.
So all of the message of this movie is so surface level and just so overt that you can't really take it seriously, and it doesn't really have anything interesting to say. But it's still a fun little romp. I would say it's very violent, but interestingly, like it's more violent than the original one. The original one actually wasn't that violent, in comparison with movies that come out today. But and there's this one of the racers is she's like a rapper, and she does this one song over and over and over again, and it is the worst song ever. And they replay it like 3 or 4 times in the movie, and I just don't understand who thought that was a good idea to include that. So
Yeah.
Death Race 2050, if you're looking for just a movie you can laugh at in a so bad it's good sort of way, might be worth a look. I saw Moana, the Disney animated one.
Oh yeah.
Didn't have a whole lot of interest in this one. I had a mild interest, but it's one of those movies like with a lot of these animated movies, it's like, oh, I'll wait until it hits digital and give it a look. First thing, animation is stunning in this movie. I mean, it is incredible. Like I was
Really?
blown away with the animation in this movie. It's funny how when you see trailers for these movies, the animation never seems to be as good as what it actually is. And there were just so many things like the hair and the water. And there's a scene where she like is in this storm, and she ends up being washed on the shore, and she's like buried in the sand, and she pops up, and just the how the sand looks so real and detailed. It was just absolutely stunning. The animation is absolutely the highlight of this. It's really funny too. It made me laugh quite a bit. I know Taika Waititi did the initial draft of this film, and I think that there's a lot of his humor in the movie.
Hmm. I
I
didn't know
think
that.
they changed the overall story, they tweaked it a bit, but his ideas I think are still in there. Oddly, they took him off as a writing credit, but
Hmm.
I don't know what the specifics are about that. But the music's really good too. It is a musical, so there are a number of musical interludes, and they're really good. Like the songs are really good. They're catchy. They're well done. there's a particular scene that involves Jermaine Clement as he's like a bad guy. He's this giant crab, and his song is it feels like it's straight out of Flight of the Conchords. He's doing his kind of Bowie impersonation with the song, and it's so enjoyable. Just given the how depressing everything is these days, coming to a movie that's very light and
Yeah.
lighthearted and fun like this, even though it does have a message. I mean, there's a clear environmentalist message in this movie. It's still refreshing to see something like this and just find some joy in the world. So I would highly recommend checking out Moana. I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. Story is a little bit lacking, but everything else is top notch. The only other one that I'll
Gotcha.
mention is this is a rewatch for me, and I rarely I don't even log rewatches.
No.
I don't even log
Rewatch.
yeah, I don't log rewatches on Letterboxd. But Parents.
Such a purist.
Wow. I don't
Parents.
know, for some reason I don't log rewatches. Parents from 1989, directed by Bob Balaban. This came out on Blu-ray this week from as part of the Vestron Collector series. And this is a movie that I saw when I was a kid. I was really, really young when I saw this. My parents rented it. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why they let me watch this, but it scared the shit out of me as a kid. I had nightmares for days because of this movie. I think that I got like so scared that they had to turn it off, or maybe they turned it off after they saw that it was clearly not going to be a movie that's kid friendly.
Yeah.
Uh, Basically, it takes place in the 50s, and it is about this kid who believes that his parents, played by Randy Quaid and Mary Beth Hurt, may be cannibals, and
Oh,
the whole movie is through the eyes of this kid. So it's from his perspective. So a lot of the things that he's seeing that he doesn't understand, he's interpreting as being this or that. And as a kid, I really couldn't appreciate some of the things about this movie. And this is a movie that doesn't get talked about a lot. I don't think that it was very well received when it came out, and I feel like it just kind of nobody talks about this one. And the cinematography in this movie is incredible. Like, I was blown away with how good this movie looked, and like the framing, the lighting, the composition of the shots. I mean, they use some really interesting techniques to show this story, and I think it's so underrated, and it's definitely worth a look just for that alone. It feels like I would compare it to like a Todd Solondz movie or John Waters, even, where it's this kind of Leave It to Beaver type of atmosphere, but then you have this really dark horror that's kind of injected into it.
yeah.
It's a really fun movie, and I would highly recommend checking it out. I mean, plus it's directed by Bob Balaban, and who doesn't love Bob Balaban?
I don't trust anyone that dislikes Bob Balaban.
Exactly.
Actually, I don't trust anyone that is indifferent to Bob Balaban.
Exactly.
Like if I were to ask you, what do you think about Balaban? And they were just like, don't really have an opinion. I would not trust that person.
Exactly. So, parents, check it out. It's on Blu-ray now. All these Vestron Blu-rays, they're a little bit more expensive than normal Blu-rays. I think you can get it on Amazon for like $25. But it's got tons of bonus content and stuff, and lots of behind the scenes interviews and stuff like that. They interview Mary Beth Hurt. They interview the writer of the film, the cinematographer. It was the same guy that did Hellraiser. So lots of bonus stuff there too. That's quite interesting. There is an audio commentary by Bob Balaban.
Oh
So
my God, yes.
so yeah, check out Parents because it's awesome, and I think it's definitely should be considered a cult classic. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know about these cult. I don't know what cult classic status is. All right,
Yeah, I know. Someone should keep track of that probably. There should be like a website or something. Kind of
there
do it like
probably
a Hall
is.
of Fame where you like vote them in every year. You can vote in like two titles.
Yeah, I think that there should be like an official list because everything's so loosey goosey when it comes to cult classics. Remember, there used to be a section in I don't know if it was Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or A to Z Video or one of the ones that
Yeah,
were in our town. There used to be a cult classics section, and
yeah,
I'd go to the video store. That was the first place that I would go. Cult classics, see what they got, and they had like Toxic Avenger and stuff. And but I never knew what made it that like
yeah.
what designates it a cult classic. I mean, there's obviously definitions, but I think that it's so loose that you could interpret a lot of movies as cult classics. Anyway, let's move on and talk about some predictions. We were off last week, so we didn't predict anything. I can pull up some scores here and see how the movies did that came out uh, over the weekend. Rings got a 5%. We do have a review for that up on the site. Blake gave it a 3 out of 10. So apparently that's
Ooh,
garbage. Not surprisingly.
no.
The Space Between Us, that got an 18%. That moved up a little bit. That was at like had like a 6 or something at one point.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oof. Little boy.
Didn't expect much after we did that Ryan Watches movie. Same director as Hannah Montana, the movie. So
Yeah.
didn't have a very high expectations on that. I'm Not Your Negro has a 97%. That's really all the ones. That comedian movie came out, the one with Robert De Niro, that has a 25%.
Really?
Yeah, I heard very bad things about that one. Dark Knight has a 64.
Get out of here.
People are liking it for some
Come
reason.
on.
I just don't get it.
I don't get it either. I just don't understand people anymore.
Yeah, I just there's
I don't know if I ever did to begin with.
right.
Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Next week got a big one, at least in my eyes, and that's John Wick Chapter 2.
I'm pretty excited for this.
I'm pretty excited too. I will say I don't think it's going to be as well received as the original one, but I'm just hoping that it's somewhat as good. I'm just hoping that it's entertaining and fun. I'll say 68 on that.
I'm gonna say, man, that's what I wanted. I wanted that 68. I wanted it.
Too
I
bad.
wanted it so bad.
Too
I'm
bad.
gonna go with a 70. I'm gonna
All right.
lean a little more optimistic.
Okay. All right. Hopefully you're right on that one. The Lego Batman movie comes out.
Oh boy.
You know, I wouldn't even give this one a second glance if it wasn't for the fact that the regular Lego movie was so fantastic.
I know.
This is currently sitting at a 90% right now on Rotten Tomatoes. So, I mean,
Watch out.
I don't know if you did you see any of the trailers for it?
I have not.
Every one of them made me laugh. So, I will absolutely be checking this one out. What are you thinking on the Lego Batman movie?
I'm gonna say 80, 86.
That's a good score.
You wanted it, didn't you? You want that 86?
I'm going to say 80
Yeah,
I'm going to say 85. And then we have 50 Shades Darker.
oh boy.
I'm going to say 14.
I'm gonna go with a 6.
All right. The single digit numbers are always the funniest ones to predict. Let's see what else we got next week. We have a United Kingdom. We have David Brent, Life on the Road. Come on. Come on.
It's funny to see where his career went.
Oh my God. You serious?
Where do you think the wrong turn was? You know what I mean? Like what was it?
I'm starting to think that it was Stephen Merchant that was the brains behind everything on that. Because I feel like when he and Stephen Merchant broke off and started doing their own stuff, I feel like that's when things took a turn
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah, because
Stephen Merchant's still
yeah.
doing great stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I mean, it's that's an actual movie. I feel like that should be just like a BBC special or something.
Yeah, no.
Well,
I
it
know what
was
you're saying.
when
Are you well,
it might
I
have
guess
been.
it is a Netflix thing.
Yeah, it might have been because when I was in London, there were actually like buses and stuff that had that on on the side. So it might have been a BBC thing. Anyway, Land of Mine, not sure what that is. Looks like a war film. Kedi, which is I believe Turkish documentary about cats, street cats.
I know. That's so awesome.
I saw the
There
trailer.
needs to be more documentaries about cats.
I saw the trailer for this. I'm not a cat person, but I saw the trailer for this, and I was like, okay, I'm into this now. Follows 7 street cats and just kind of follows their lives. Yeah, I'll check that out definitely.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Keep Quiet, Don't Hang Up, Havenhurst, Stray Bullets. These are all movies that I'm not super familiar with. Sex Doll, Bornless Ones, Running Wild, I Am Jane Doe, One Night. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. I think we're gonna have a tough time next week, if you see John Wick, we'll be good. VOD next week we have on the 7th, the Tuesday, we have Deadly Virtues, Love, Honor, Obey. We have Jonathan. We have The Covenant. And then on Friday the 10th, we have Havenhurst, Running Wild, Bornless Ones, Don't Hang Up, Beyond the Edge. I think Beyond the Edge is with Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, nice.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Dolph Lundgren. It's with Casper Van Dien. That's even better. As far as VOD goes next week, not a whole lot going on. Havenhurst,
Oh, how many times are you gonna say Havenhurst?
not into that word.
I just, it's always, it seems like every week we do this, there's always that one film that is in every single category.
It might be on Blu-ray too.
When you're like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's always one film that just infiltrates everything.
It is true.
And this time it's
Havenhurst.
Havenhurst.
Next week on Blu-ray, this is for Tuesday, February 7th, we have American Pastoral. I think that's the Ewan McGregor directed one, I believe.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to that? That kind of like came out like when it played the festivals. There was like whispers, and then it just completely
Yeah, I
dropped
don't
off
know.
the face of the earth.
I'm not sure what happened with that one. All I know is I saw a new trailer for Train Spotting 2, and I lost my shit because it's going to be insane. Frank and
You
Lola.
were super excited. You were excited for that one?
Are you?
No, I'm not. It's one of those unnecessary things.
I don't know. I think it's.
I mean, on the same level of like David Brent.
Come on. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. This is not on the same level as that at all.
It's pretty much the same thing.
No, it is not.
I'm almost certain.
Watch the new trailer. I think you'll be into it. Anyway, Frank and Lola comes out. Justice League Dark. That's a new animated one that I'm pretty excited about. Those DC animated ones have been pretty good. I like to consume those when they come out. And I like Justice League Dark. I think it's a good team with Constantine and Zatanna and all of them. Very, very excited for that. The Take, that's the one with Idris Elba, I believe, that supposedly is not great.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Taken 3-movie collection. Oh boy, that's exciting.
Nice.
We have
that trilogy.
Ice Age 5-movie collection. Nerdland, skip that one, please. The Eagle Huntress.
That's supposed to be pretty good.
I'm not gonna see it just because of the name, and I think that's a lame name.
Well, she's actually an eagle huntress.
So. Oh, is it a documentary?
Yeah, it's a documentary about being an eagle huntress.
Okay, never mind then.
Like, she has an eagle and she hunts with it.
Interesting. Okay, never mind. I take it all back.
Take it all back.
Little Sister. You were a big fan of that one. I thought it was okay.
That was pretty good. Enjoyed that.
Let's see. What else do we have here? Loving. I was okay on that one. Again, pretty standard biopic.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been hearing.
I mean, it's decent.
About that one.
It's decent.
Yeah.
Trolls.
These decisions.
John Wick's getting a 4K release.
Oh, dope.
Anti-Birth. That one's okay. It's a body horror comedy with Natasha Lyonne.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that one.
And Chloe Sevigny. Yeah, it was decent. Very gross. What else do we have here? The Alchemist Cookbook. There's a lot of stuff next week. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. There's all kinds of like anime and re-releases, a bunch of Godzilla movies and The Mummy and all this other stuff, but we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, no one cares.
What do we have on Criterion?
We have one Criterion. That is Kirsten Johnson's camera person
It's a fairly
from
new release.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the contemporary releases from Criterion. And this is actually, I mean, for me, Criterion personally, I think when it comes to their contemporary offerings, they're kind of iffy. I don't think they're that great, but I think that this is an interesting one. And this is another film that I noticed popping up on a boatload of top tens last year.
Yeah, I heard nothing but great things about it. So, and you'll be covering this one, yes?
At some point in time, I guess.
Great.
I have no time to do any of these things.
Great. All right, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/FilmPulse, and consider helping us out by becoming a subscriber for $1 a month. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.